Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Virtual Ninja Show. My name is Heike, and I will be your host. So, do you want one of those? Check out aka.ms/plüschcat and see how you might get one of those ninja cats. I see Yuji, who is my expert today on the show, already has one in the background. And Yuji, we talk about protecting mobile devices, but before we get there, please introduce yourself.
Hi. Oh, thanks, Heike. So, hi everyone. My name is Yuji Aoki. I'm a product manager in Defender for Endpoint customer acceleration team, and based in Japan. And I'm also doing like an advocate for mobile threat defense. So I'm really happy to join this training and discuss about our mobile threat defense product. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What is mobile threat defense, Yuji? Like, what is the term, and what
Yeah.
do people need to look out for?
So yeah, mobile threat defense is especially for like protecting mobile devices such as phones and tablet. It's like so Defender for Endpoint for iOS and Android. That's we call like a mobile threat defense.
And this is then part of our endpoint security solution, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint.
Yes, it's part of the Microsoft Defender for Endpoint production. Like it's like a Windows, Linux, Mac, and we can also protect them Android and iOS.
Okay, so that means, I mean, we get there, what needs to be protected, what is different on those devices, but when there will be alerts and such, this will all be shown in the same portal. There's nothing separate, it's all in the same.
Yes, it's all the same experience. So if you're already using a Defender for Endpoint, you will see the alerts in the portal. You will also see the same alerts in the Defender portal from the Android or iOS. So nothing changes.
But it's still different than endpoints, right? So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit, what are the things that we need to look out for on an, let's say, iOS device or an Android?
Mhm.
They're both, again, different. Maybe let's start with iOS. Like, what are the threats that
Okay.
usually occur? Yeah.
Let me use my slide to explain what's the difference. So this slide explains the threat landscape on the mobile devices. There's like a few key kind of the threat on the mobile. The number one thing is phishing, right? So you will use like a mobile phone, a tablet, and you will probably protect it for the email, security for like clicking links. But you might sometimes get the, suspicious URLs, links, text messaging, like messaging app, that kind of the thing. We can also protect it from the Defender solution. This will be available for both iOS and Android.
And this is also the difference, right? So because you have suddenly these messaging apps where you have text message, it's not just an email. Good point, actually. It's, you have different applications that can give you links.
I actually get the many links like a daily because I use my phone, at the daily work. But sometimes a suspicious link will be, let's say your package arrived, or
Yes.
you need to change your password or something.
Okay. So, and then the second biggest threat.
So we also see that there's a lot of like malicious application available, especially on the Google App Store. So user might accidentally or install the malicious application from these stores. So in that case, we can also detect and prevent to install the malicious application. So this is actually available for Android only for currently.
I see on your slide, Yuji, this it says vulnerable device. What is that?
Yes, so there's like a application or operating system vulnerability. If there's it's unpatched using old one, it's another risk. So we
Mm-hmm.
can identify each software inventory or like OS versions, make sure it gets updated.
Okay, and then jailbroken. Do people still do this? I remember this from years ago when people try to, I don't know, install something or do something that was not allowed, or like with the
Yes,
original. Yeah.
yeah, It's not, if you see the percentage, it's not a lot. But once if user use these kinds of devices, it's a high risk for the
Mhm.
corporate, right? So if you, let's say if you allow BYOD, user has using the jailbroken devices, it's not really good. So we have to identify, do something or either block or something. So that's the key for that mobile device.
So now that we know what we are protecting against, how do people get started?
So there's basically three steps. One is grab and install application onto the mobile devices, either iOS or Android. So the application, Defender app is available on either like a Google Play Store or like Apple App Store. So you can just easily go to the store and search with keyword, let's say like a Defender, and you can install the application. The second one is you have to have like a corporate credentials with proper license assigned. That's the second one. And third, once you install and sign in, you have to do some, onboarding steps to complete the onboarding. And especially if you're using iOS, we can do whole process on like automation, we call it zero touch. So pushing the application installation, signing, and do the all initial onboarding stuff. It's all automatically done without using any touching anything.
Yeah, so I was wondering. So, as a corporation, I don't want my people to go and download and do things.
Mm-hmm.
And when I have my company phone, I didn't do anything, everything was just working. So, that's something a security admin or device admin or whoever has that role in the organization can package everything in Microsoft Endpoint Manager and then push it down to those devices.
Correct.
Okay, cool. And then I sometimes, Yuji, I get, hey, you can't access your data anymore. You need to update to iOS. So there's a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of experience. So people like admins can configure when is a device out of policy and what can be still done from the phone. How is that working?
Oh, yes. So actually, Microsoft, use Defender and Intune, right? When our device is not up to date, we are not allowed to access using like a corporate data, like email or maybe
Hmm.
like SharePoint data, right? Let's say if iOS is not up to date, you can just manually update and do the compliance check. Once it's updated, it's all good to go. So we can come back again to access all the corporate resources.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
It's time to remind you about those cute ninja plush cats. So if you want to get one of those, check out the link. Do we want to talk up a little bit about what are the different capabilities that are in Defender for Endpoint for iOS and Android?
Yeah, sure. So first, there's like a key, like a main features on iOS and Android. The first one, web protection, it's available for both iOS and Android. And again, it will protect, accessing the phishing site. Also, we can use indicator. If you know like a Defender, there's a feature called indicator. If you know IOC specific URLs, you can specify to block it. You can also use that for this, mobile in iOS and Android. And second thing, in malware scan, this is currently available on Android. And so once that malicious application install, Defender will identify and warn the user to remove the software because it's malicious.
So, and then the user has to do something, or will it just remove it?
Yeah, user will need to remove it. If they don't remove it, it's flagged as, non-compliant and they cannot, access to the corporate resources. That's how it
Got it.
works.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we also have threat vulnerability management for iOS and Android. You will get the app inventory and OS versions and tagged with, vulnerabilities like CVEs. So you will identify there is old version of software or, or like has vulnerabilities. You can find that. And this one also works with Intune. So you can ask Intune admin to fix it.
Hmm. So network protection, isn't that somehow connected to the web protection? So how is
This is actually recently GA new feature. We call it Wi-Fi protection. So if you attack like man in the middle attack, or like it's sometimes called like a evil twin attack. If you, let's say, go out and you see tons of public Wi-Fi, right? And it's not always secure. And if you see, if your device try to access malicious, Wi-Fi,
Mhm.
will identify you and suggest you not to access.
Okay,
Like a
cool.
hotel, like a Starbucks, it's a name, but it's a fake. So
Yeah, okay. We have the single pane of glass, like everything is in the console. And of course, better together with our MEM solution, Endpoint
yes,
Manager,
true.
so that you can configure there everything. And then, of course, as mentioned at the very bottom, I'm just seeing it's included in the 5 qualified devices.
So if you have a Defender license, you already have a license for one user per 5 device. Hmm? One,
Yes.
yes,
5 devices per
yeah,
user.
one per, yeah. So that's it.
Yes. Cool. Okay, so now I'm curious. Do we want to hop into a demo?
So here's my test device and already Defender app installed. Let's see how it looks like once installed. Once you see it, app is launched, you will see, the features functional. Let's say like a web protection is turned on, network protection checks, your Wi-Fi connections. Also, the device health is, I use the latest updates, updated operating system. So it looks all green right now. Yeah, if we click the buttons, you will see each, set menus or, settings to confirm. So now this is up and running, so we can show you one of the demo, which is clicking malicious, suspicious URLs. So this is actually a test URLs, but kind of explain you how you experience it. So if user clicks a malicious URL, it will open up the browser and it stops because of its malicious website. So you will be warned, and will get this type of message and say, hey, this is a kind of a malicious URL site, so you're not allowed to access to the URL from the device. And again, it's blocked property.
Yeah. So, and in the Microsoft Defender summary page, you can also then see that you have something there. Good.
Oh yeah.
Okay, Yuji, I know that you have another demo for me.
Yeah, actually, let's take a look at SOC admin experience in the portal. Once the user clicks the malicious URLs, you will see the alerts or incident in the portal like you do in the Windows. Let's say here's the incident newly created. Let's take a look at how it looks like. So the end user clicked the access to the phishing URL. So you see, within the incident, you will see alerts, and within alerts, you will get to see all the details. Let's scroll down a bit, and we'll see the URL the user accessed, or like a remote IP addresses, or port, or all the details will be shown like you do the same in the other operating system. So, and you can of course check the another like details, and let's go check the device page and additional kind of entities. So the alert was raised. And if we go to the timelines, we also see the alert details. It's also actually the same, but the
Hmm.
this user access to this URL. And again,
Okay, and you also see the action type was connection
yeah,
failed.
it's
So,
connection
yeah.
failed. So we know it's blocked.
Okay,
And
cool, cool.
also, the other thing is we can also kind of concerned about the privacy. Some customer may say, we want to block, but we don't want you to see the URLs or like IPs because of the privacy concerns. So we also have a settings. If you enable that, especially like a BYOD device, it blocks,
Hmm.
but it don't show you or like a SOC analyst to show which
Oh,
URL they accessed. So
good.
that's we kind of concerned about the privacy stuff.
Yes, yes, I
And
like it.
we do switch the gear to the TVM. So again, the app is installed, all the data is collected to the Defender. So we now see the, OS versions, applications. I actually push the application push through the Intune plus, manually, personally install the application also. So you
Mm,
will easily find all the details automatically from the each endpoints. Actually, my demo is so clean. It's all up to date. So I don't see any threats or vulnerabilities. So let's look at another test device. So let's go to Chrome as an example. So we go to the open software page. Actually, I had the three devices install the Chrome or the iOS, and it's all different versions. So let's say we have three different versions installed. We can see all the various versions. Plus, this time we'll see like vulnerabilities available. So
mhm,
it's easy to find the device which using older applications or operating systems. And again, the same experience as like a security admin do in the Windows or like other platforms. So we can identify, and plus if you need it update, we can also kind of connect it to the Intune and change request to the Intune admin. Let's say this time we ask the Intune admin to update the software and create the task in the
mhm.
Intune and set the date. Let's say like end of this month and put some comments and submit the request. So it's automatically, create a task in the Intune portal so the Intune admin knows there are some devices needs to be updated to, make sure the device is up to date. So you can also check in the Defender as a SOC admins. You can also check the status. Of course, I just requested it, so nothing done yet, but you can keep track of, your request are either accepted it or
Mhm.
it's still ongoing, something like that.
Yeah, and then once the first devices get it installed, you can see that
Yeah,
bar
yeah,
progress.
right. So this
Beautiful.
is kind of the tight integration between our product and Intune.
And then the same portal, of course, people use, for instance, to set their indicators. We talked about this at the very beginning, the IOCs, and then target, I don't know, the entire network, or they can
Mhm.
build groups for mobile devices and such. And then from a user experience, it would be very similar to what you
Mhm.
showed with the phishing. So they can't then access
Yeah.
the specific URL. Awesome. So, Yuji, you showed us that experience on an iOS device. Let's move to an
Yes.
Android device.
Let's see how it looks like. Again, launching it, and this time it's additional feature, app security. Detecting malware is added. So we'll see how it works. All right. So to test, I actually have like a kind of the test sample malware, application to install.
Hmm.
Let's say user install the malicious application, and once it's installed, you see a bug,
Oh, yeah.
you see kind of the message, and say, hey, you have some malicious application installed, and guided you to kind of the uninstall the application. So you can just from the Defender app, you will easily uninstall the application. Or if you keep it, it's still a risk. So the status will change and access blocked to like a email access will be blocked with integration between Intune. That's
Okay.
how kind of the things work in Android.
Okay. And just because I saw, I mean, I know it was a test app, but it was an antivirus. It's never a good idea, right? Even if it's now, if it wasn't a malicious, to run two antivirus solution or mobile threats detection solutions on the same device, I would assume.
You're right. Yes. So once you install the Defender, you don't have to install another security applications.
Okay. So, and then now that we had this Android device, how would that show in the portal? What would be the message for that application that you just tried to
Yeah.
install?
All right. Let's go back to the portal again and let's see the incident. So this is a portal again, but here you see it's not listed because once user detects it and uninstall, it's automatically kind of resolve the alerts. That's why we don't see it. So, but when we look at it, we can see all the details, alerts name, and within the alerts, we can of course see the let's say, like a file hash in the past and, all the great information available within the portal. So you can see what was going on and all of these, and it's already resolved. And we can also use these data in the advanced hunting. So if you use a hunting query, you can also hunt without, doing these portal experience.
Mm-hmm. So it was resolved because the person uninstalled the application
Yes.
on the device and that
Yes.
it was okay,
Mm-hmm.
good. Okay, Yuji. So we had a look at iOS, we had a look at Android. And I know within the portal, right? So this is where you get all the information, all the alerts. Before you get them, you have to onboard them. You can do all of this through your mobile device management tool, better together with Microsoft Endpoint Manager because everything is already there more or less and people can configure their policies. Um, good. So I think the last call is a call to action for our people, right?
Yeah, definitely. So again, Defender for mobile threat defense is part of Defender for Endpoint. And if you have a license, let's say MD for P1 or P2, you can have, this application, you can use it. So if you have a license, please use it. If not, please, we have a evaluation license. So please try and see what it's like. And I'm
Okay.
definitely, this application will help you to protect your company.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Yuji, for being my expert on today's show. And a quick reminder for everyone, if you would like to get a chance to get one of those Plüschcats, go to aka.ms/Plüschcat. And with that, thanks everyone for watching. And I hope to see you soon when we have the next episode. Thank you.